All right, let's just get right into it. I've got a pretty good idea why you're here. You're tired of the 9 to 5, right? You're scrolling, looking for a way out, a way to build something that's actually yours. Well, guess what? You've landed in the perfect spot. Let's break this down.
So, here's the million-dollar question, isn't it? How in the world can you start a real, legitimate online business when you don't have a garage full of stuff to sell or a ton of cash to invest? It sounds almost too good to be true, but there's an answer, and it's a business model that's changed the game for so many people. Dropshipping.
Okay, so what is dropshipping? Honestly, the concept is so simple, it's brilliant. You are basically the storefront. You're the brand. You're the face of the operation. A customer finds your website, loves a product, and buys it from you. Then you simply turn around, use their money to pay your supplier, and that supplier ships the product straight to the customer's doorstep. You never even have to see or touch the product. You're the connector, and you get to pocket the difference. Simple as that.
All right, so to make this super easy to follow, we've laid out the whole journey in 5 simple sections. We'll cover the basic idea, how to find that killer product, building your online store, getting those first customers, and then the really important part, the money, the problems, and how to scale up. Let's do this. Okay, Section 1. Let's talk about the fundamental promise of dropshipping. It really boils down to a simple 4-step journey. Every single successful dropshipper, no matter what they're selling, follows this exact path.
And here they are: product, website, advertisement, and profit. Think of it like a chain reaction, right? You absolutely cannot have a website if you don't have a product to sell. You can't run ads if you don't have a website to send people to. And you're definitely not going to see any profit if your ads aren't working. Each step builds on the last. Nailing the sequence, that's the whole game.
Okay, let's dive into what is, without a doubt, the most important step of all: finding that winning product. I'm not exaggerating when I say this. If you mess this part up, nothing else you do will matter. You could build the most gorgeous, high-tech website ever, but if your product is a dud, it's game over before you even start.
So what's the secret sauce for a winning product? Well, it's not just luck. The best ones, they solve a real nagging problem for someone. Or they have that wow factor that just makes you stop scrolling. They're often impulse buys, something cool and unique you can't just pick up at the corner store. Plus, on a practical level, you really want something that's lightweight and not going to break in transit. Trust me, that saves a lot of headaches.
And here's a perfect example of this in action. The expert Jaden Garcia talks about insecurity products. He points to things like body-shaping t-shirts for men. Now, why are these so powerful? Because they're not just selling a shirt, they're selling confidence. They solve a huge emotional problem. And that's a massive light bulb moment, isn't it? The best products often tap into our deepest emotions.
So, how do you actually find these gems? Look, the old method was just painful. You'd scroll for hours on end on sites like AliExpress, basically just hoping to stumble upon gold. We don't do that anymore. The modern way, the smart way, is all about data. You use research tools that show you what's already proven to sell. You look at the numbers, the trends. You make a calculated move, not a wild guess.
All right, you've got your winning product. Awesome. Now you need a home for it online. This is your digital storefront, your online real estate, and you better believe that first impression counts. It has to look legit.
You've basically got 2 paths you can take here. First is the general store. Think of it like a digital version of a Target or Walmart. It sells a bit of everything. This is great for testing a bunch of different products without committing too hard. The other path is a niche store. This is more like a specialty shop. You focus on one thing, like gear for cat lovers or high-end coffee gadgets. This is way better for building a real brand that people trust and come back.
Now, where do you actually build this thing? Shopify is the king, no question. And get this, with their new AI tools, you can have a professional-looking store up and running in under an hour. Not days, not weeks, an hour. But hey, if the budget is literally zero, don't sweat it. You still got options. You can use a free platform, or you can even just start with an Instagram page and have people DM you to buy. The point is, just start.
Okay, your store is live, your product is awesome, but now comes the big hurdle where so many people get stuck. How do you get eyeballs on your site? You can build the greatest store in the world, but if nobody sees it, it doesn't exist. it's time to talk about traffic.
When it comes to your ads, especially for videos on TikTok or Reels, please don't just hold up the product and say, buy this. There's a formula, and it works like magic. It's called PPS. Problem, pain, solution. First, you show the problem your audience has. Then you poke at the pain that problem causes. Really make them feel it. And just when they're feeling it, bam, you introduce your product as the hero, the perfect solution. It's Storytelling 101.
So where do you run these ads? My advice? Start free. Seriously, make some TikToks, make some Instagram Reels. See what resonates with people. It costs you nothing but time. Once you find a video that's getting some love, that's when you put a little money behind it. We're talking 10, maybe 20 bucks a day to start. But remember, whether it's free or paid, you have got to hook them in the first 3 seconds. If you don't stop the scroll immediately, you've lost.
All right, let's fast forward. The ads are working, you're getting sales. This is the exciting part. But now, we need to have a serious talk. We need to talk about the money. The real numbers, the hidden problems, and how you turn this initial success into a real long-term business. Knowing your actual profit is everything. And it's not as simple as what you sell it for minus what you paid for it. No. You have to account for how much it cost you to get that customer in the first place. That's your ad cost, or what the pros call customer acquisition cost, CAC. So you take the selling price, subtract the product cost, subtract the ad cost, and that number right there, that's your real take-home profit on every single order. And speaking of costs, here's a hidden killer that can sink your business if you're not prepared for it, especially in markets that rely on cash on delivery. It's called RTO, or Return to Origin. This is just a fancy way of saying the customer rejected the package at their door, and it happens a lot. You've got to bake into your plan that 10, maybe even 20% of your orders might just come back. That's a loss you eat. It comes right out of your profit if you haven't priced your product correctly to cover.
So with all these costs, the product, the ads, the shipping, the dreaded returns, how do you make sure you actually end up with money in your pocket? Well, here's the golden rule, the rule of thumb that successful dropshippers live by. You need to sell your product for at least 2.5 times what it cost you to buy. So if a product costs you 10 bucks, you need to be selling it for 25 minimum. Anything less than that and your profit margins are just too thin. That buffer, it's not just profit, it's the oxygen your business needs to survive.
And this leads me to one of the most common and most costly mistakes a beginner can make. You get so obsessed with finding that next customer that you forget about the ones you already have. Al Hampton has this perfect analogy. He says it's like trying to fill a bucket that has a hole in the bottom. You just keep pouring water in, new customers in the top, while your old customers leak out the bottom. If you're not doing things like email marketing to bring people back, you are literally leaving so much money on the table. Okay, so you're profitable. Now, how do you level up? How do you scale? Well, it's a few key things. First, you have to feed the machine. Take a good chunk of your profits, say 25 to 50%, and reinvest it right back into your ads. Then you start thinking bigger. You add more products, you automate things like emails so the business works while you sleep, and this is critical, you find backup suppliers. Never ever rely on just one source. That's how you build a resilient, scalable business.
So there it is. That's the playbook. The step-by-step roadmap from a simple idea all the way to a scalable, profitable business. But look, just watching this isn't enough. Information is great, but action is what builds empires. You now have the blueprint. You know the steps. So the real question, the only one that matters now, is what are you going to build?